Hi, I'm so glad you joined us today. We're going to share a story about a very fabulous lady named Maria Mitchell. Now, you probably haven't heard of her, and I think that's a really good use of the first weekend of Women's History Month, is to introduce you to Maria Mitchell, a stargazer who discovered a comet. And this story comes to us from the UU Kids book by Ann Fields and Charlene Brotman, and it is coming to us through the Tapestry of Faith curriculum. So here's a story about Maria. Well, Maria always remembered the day she helped her father time an eclipse of the sun. She used the chronometer to count down to the exact second that the moon began to block out the sun. Her father needed to send the timing report to his astronomer friends at the big Harvard University Observatory, and they were collecting eclipse information from all over. "There'll be another eclipse like this in 54 years, said her father. "I'm 12. I'll be 66 then," exclaimed Maria. How could astronomers know so far ahead what would happen in the sky? How amazing that the stars and planets spun around in such order. "I want to study the stars always," decided Maria one day. "I want to be an astronomer." "Father, can only men be astronomers?" she asked. Father thought for a moment while Maria watched his face anxiously. He knew that no matter how smart a girl was, she could not get into any college in the United States to study astronomy. Only boys were allowed to go to college in those days. Finally, he said, "There are no women astronomers in America. There are only a few in the entire world, but I do think it's possible, Maria. I will teach thee all I know about astronomy. Cousin Walter has scientific books he might let thee read. Thee will need to study mathematics. That is as important to astronomy as the telescope." "Yes, I do think it's possible thee could be an astronomer." "Oh, I will study, Father, I will," cried Maria joyfully, hugging her father. Now, true to her word, Maria spent long hours studying geometry and trigonometry in a tiny room at the foot of the attic stairs. She still spent most evenings studying the sky with the telescope and keeping careful records on the stars. Now, one night, she saw a fuzzy spot through the telescope that she'd never seen before. Quickly, she checked the charts to see if a star was supposed to be in that place in the sky. No star was ever there. Could it be a new comet? "Father, come up and look quick," she shouted. Her father dashed up the attic stairs to the roof and peered carefully through the telescope. "Thee's discovered a comet above the North Star," he exclaimed. "We must write immediately to the Harvard Observatory and tell them. A comet is named for the person who discovers it first, but the discovery doesn't count unless it is reported to the observatory." Well, they wrote a letter that very night, but to their dismay, a storm at sea delayed the mail in leaving the island for 2 days. Soon, the comet was sighted by someone in Italy, then in England, then in Germany, and the King of Denmark had promised a gold medal to the first person who discovered a comet that could be seen only through a telescope. Would Maria miss getting the medal because her report was late? Months went by while this was being decided. Finally, one day, a package arrived for Maria from the King of Denmark. It was the gold medal! Now Maria was famous. She was the first woman in the world to have a comet named after her. Women all over America were so proud of Maria that they collected money for a new, larger telescope for her. How excited she was! Now she could learn so much more about the stars and planets. Maria's life changed in 1865 when a wealthy man named Matthew Vassar had the courage to start a college for women, Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York. People called Matthew Vassar an old fool. They said girls didn't need a college education, they just needed to know how to sew and do housework and maybe play piano a little. College would ruin them for doing housework. There were ministers who thundered, "It's against the will of God for girls to go to college. It will break up families and destroy the country." In spite of such talk, Matthew Vassar wanted Maria to come and teach astronomy. She could have an observatory and the third largest telescope on the continent. "Father, "How can I do this?" said Mariah softly, trying to keep her voice from trembling. "I've never even been to college myself." She was also thinking, if I'm not any good at it, then people will say this proves that women have no business teaching in colleges. "Thee can do it, and do it well," said her father. "Thee should have no fears." He was right. Mariah's students loved her. The other professors just expected the students to sit and listen to them talk, but Mariah taught her students to question everything and to experiment and to think for themselves. And of course, thinking for ourselves and making good decisions based on good evidence and compassion is something that we hope that everyone can do. We also hope that everyone has the freedom to pursue their dreams in the way that Mariah did. Now, she was up against several very difficult things, a time when women did not have the opportunities that they might have today. And even today, there are times when we're told, no, you can't. I even remember being told once that I couldn't do gym supervision because I was a girl. And when we come up against those things, we have to draw our strength from the knowledge in who we are, the knowledge of what we can do, and in some cases, the support of those around us. But the important thing is that we do find our own way, that we do, pardon the pun, chart our course for ourselves, and that we make sure that we are reaching for the stars. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.